Going on, everyone? John Matrix here. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. We're going to be jumping back into the SCP universe here with the Exploring series. Just a little FYI, it is thunderstorming out, so if you hear any thunder in the background, I apologize, etc., etc. But can't be helped. Living in Florida, it is what it is during the summertime. So anyway. So yeah, links will be down in the description to the Exploring series channel and to the original video here without my commentary and reaction. So if you do me a favor, click those links, go over there and check out this video of his. If you like it, give it a like. If you enjoy the man's content, give the man a sub. He definitely deserves it. We're doing the reaction here live from our YouTube members. You'd love to have you guys come in here, join us as we do these reactions live. Give us your input, your 2 cents as we go through and do these reactions. There's a join button down below the video, as well as a link in the description. So if you want to come join, check this out, see if any of those have any interest for you. If you decide you want to take your sport to the next level, we'll greatly appreciate it. Regardless, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy day. Come in, hang out, and watch the video. So hope you enjoy it. And yeah, let's just get on into here. So this is going to be SCP-3002 Attempts to Assassinate Thought by the Exploring series.
SCP-3002 Attempts to Assassinate Thought. Memories are often unreliable as they fade, alter, and shift within our own minds.
True.
Although we often completely believe in the truth of our memories, we generally can't be certain if what we remember is what actually occurred. Eyewitness testimonies in a courtroom are often faulty, and our minds will occasionally swap around our memories completely. SCP-3002 is certainly not the first SCP to deal with memories, but it is perhaps the most widespread and...
Especially after going through, Class of 76 stuff that's been going on, and the Symphony Syncope. Lots of memory stuff going on there.
SCP to deal with memories, but it is perhaps the most widespread and dangerous of these anomalies. As a bonus, it's also another SCP that demonstrates some of the really negative consequences when attempting to exploit an anomaly. The 3002 documentation goes through a number of iterations, as we learn more and more about the SCP. The first description given of the anomaly is that it's a shared memory connected to 85% of the prisoner population in the South Rock Penitentiary in Indiana.
Interesting.
This was discovered by a
Another Indiana thing, huh? Interesting.
Psychiatrist working for the prison, who observed that a large amount of inmates mentioned a specific memory from their childhood that seemed to be nearly identical to each other.
I wonder if this also somehow is tied in with Symphony Syncope and or some other things related to Class of 76 stuff, because again, they're saying that they're having multiple people saying they have an identical memory from when they were a child. So again, stuff dealing with young people, etc. So interesting.
The memory, designated SCP-3002, consists of the individual walking through or playing in a forest as a child, along with their best friend at the time. At some point, the individual gets into an argument with their friend. This memory seems to occasionally conflict with the individual's actual life experiences, as some had never been in a forest as a child. The Foundation was alerted to this anomalous situation and conducted their own interviews with the inmates. It seems that initially, the inmates were able to recall this memory perfectly, but after several interviews...
I love it, dude. Yet another video where I have almost no relevant art. I went with waterfalls this time. He went with waterfalls instead of the kittens. How dare he? How dare he? I was expecting kittens, and we get waterfalls. Damn it. I'm unsubbing.
The inmates were able to recall this memory perfectly, but after several interviews, their recollections begin to fade, eventually becoming similar to any ordinary memory. The reason for this is unclear, but we'll learn soon enough. We're provided an interview log between a Foundation doctor and one inmate that sheds a little more light on the specifics of the memory. After some prodding, the inmate, John Bish, recalls the memory designated.
Is that literally Littlefinger's name? Isn't he John? I know Baelish is his last name, but isn't his first name John? Isn't that literally Littlefinger from Game of Thrones? Maybe they never, or maybe I'm misremembering his first name, but I swear it was John. John Baelish. Anyway, I could be wrong. Peter. How could I think it? Anyway, whatever. Last name was Baelish, though. That's where I definitely got the connection here. But I thought John was his first name for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, Peter. Anyway, let's go.
SCP-3002. He says it took place on the 17th of January, 1997, as he and his best friend, John D'Annunzio, played in Broom Woods. The memory consists of them messing with some squirrels and playing around. Overall, a very pleasant day. They began talking about school, as a new kid had recently enrolled. Baelish thinks they moved there from Slovakia or something. Baelish says his friend went on and on about the new kid, saying apparently racist things, and Baelish remarks that this was rather out of character for John. In the memory, Baelish yelled at his friend, causing them to go their separate ways.
Interesting.
Baelish then says that another friend met with him, named Lily. Baelish remarks that Lily was always a little weird, claiming that she was retarded or something. Baelish says Lily came over and put her hands on his shoulders and asked him very seriously if he remembered her. He then tries to discuss Lily in further detail, such as her physical characteristics, but then is shocked as he can't recall anything about her.
Interesting.
He says that he's sure she was one of his best friends, but then seems to question himself before the interview is concluded. It seems the argument with the friend in SCP-3002 is always about a new kid in school, and there's always a female child with blonde hair, usually described as Slovakian or Eastern European. Moving on to the next iteration.
I wonder if it has some kind of Sarkic connection. I'm just throwing this out there just because I know that I guess there's a lot of Sarkic stuff that's happened in Eastern Europe. So yeah, I wonder if this woman has some kind of connection with that and is doing has some kind of memory vampirism thing or something like that. I don't know. I don't know why it would have any kind of connection with the Sarkics, but that's just kind of what popped up in my brain. But anyway,
we see that SCP-3002 is now classified as a Class 2 contagious memetic hazard that affects the memories of those exposed to it.
Interesting, okay.
It can be transmitted through both text and speech if they describe the anomalous memory, and the memory is then implanted into the subject's mind, with them believing it to be their own. The only new detail we're given about the memory itself relates to the young girl, who is given the full name of Lily Veselka. She is most often described as having pale blonde hair and appearing anemic. She also tends to ask the subject highly specific questions, generally about herself or some sort of project. The Foundation seems to believe that much of Indiana and parts of Illinois are affected by SCP-3002, and they develop a means to test affected individuals without vocal confirmation due to the way 3002 spreads.
Not spread it, yeah.
Affected individuals are given amnestics in order to wipe their memories. At one point, however, 3 Foundation employees attempted to access 3002's file, despite them not having proper clearance and or not having any prior knowledge of SCP-3002.
It's just a bad idea to go rummaging through stuff in the SCP files when you don't have clearance to do so, man, because it's you literally don't know what you're going to get into, and it literally can be something that can cause you to die, and or any numerous other things. It can straight up kill you. It can fuck with your memory. It could cause anyone you could become infected with something, a cognito hazard or something like that. Or it could just simply be that you get privy to information that the Foundation doesn't like and they decide to off you. Like, right? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
The first was a janitor who lacked clearance, followed by another attempt 5 minutes later by a Foundation agent who also lacked clearance.
I also, in general, really just feel like ignorance is really bliss in the SCP universe, man, because there's so much stuff that goes on in the SCP universe that, like, could destroy anyone and everything in an instant if you know, containment or whatever to break. Like, I just feel like if I worked for the SCP Foundation, my anxiety would be off the charts, just because, like, I would be just sitting there, you know, when I'm not at the office. I'm like, any minute now, something's going to break containment and the world's going to end. You know, it's like, I guess maybe at some point in time, you just kind of like accept it. And it just, you know, you get to the point of like, you know, you're literally living in that meme, you know, of the dog with fire around him. And he's like, this is fine. I feel like that's probably what you eventually get to when you work for the SCP. Like, it's just, this is fine. You know, this is just life. I don't know.
20 minutes later, a senior researcher who did possess proper clearance successfully accessed the file and made some edits to it. These edits were reverted a few hours later, but 10 minutes after that, the same researcher went back in and made some more edits. These edits were also reverted, the file was locked, and all three were brought in for interrogation. The interviews are conducted by an officer working with the Records and Information Security Administration branch of the Foundation. We're given a log of the interview with the senior researcher, Dr. Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt first tries to feign ignorance over the whole situation, but when shown a physical copy of the 3002 documentation, he says that he saw a few minor errors and went in to fix them. According to the RACA records, this was the first time he had ever accessed SCP-3002, however, and after a few moments, Vanderbilt then says that he remembers looking over his colleague's shoulder on his way to get lunch, and seeing the file. The officer claims this is impossible, as 3002 can only be accessed in a secure environment due to its hazardous nature. Vanderbilt then says all he did was some minor grammatical edits, but the officer says that while grammatical edits were indeed made, he also edited several instances of the phrase SCP-3002, changing them to Lily Veselka.
Interesting.
He also removed the references to her being Slovakian, and Vanderbilt jumps in to say that she's not Slovakian, and he's known her since he was a kid. But then he pauses and remarks that he doesn't remember where she's from. Vanderbilt is given amnestics, along with the janitor and the agent, and his colleague is brought in to determine if he broke protocol on SCP-3002. It's determined that he did not, leaving the...
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would bet that he actually didn't, so, like, then the mystery is, okay, well, how did he access the file? And why would they only make some small grammatical, you know, corrections, and then also corrections to, like, where you're actually giving the SCP, you're removing the SCP's designation for an actual name that the SCP, I guess, wants to be known from? Is this kind of indicating that this mimetic SCP, whatever, has some kind of sentience? I don't know. Interesting.
The Foundation confused as to how SCP-3002 affected Vanderbilt, since they can't figure out how he would have heard of the memory. We're still left with a puzzle and very few answers, specifically to the questions of who is Lily Veselka and why are multiple Foundation personnel trying to access 3002's file to change it. Let's move on to the next iteration.
I also want to know why all this shit keeps happening in Indiana. There's a lot of stuff that keeps happening in Indiana in the SCP universe, man. Like, move out of Indiana if you're in the SCP.
SCP-3002 has now been bumped up to a Class X mimetic hazard, and all text containing it is to be destroyed, aside from SCP documentation.
I wonder if it's a situation where just like knowing about 3002, like even just hearing the name SCP-3002, like makes you susceptible to it in some way. I don't know.
The security clearance to access it is higher, and if any outside company is found to be creating content containing 3002, they are to be immediately shut down and the owners terminated. It seems that the Foundation has now learned that 3002 is capable of altering, removing, replacing, or adding any memory of an affected individual.
Interesting.
Not just inserting that specific childhood memory. 3002 is capable of affecting both declarative memory, that is, memories involving personal experiences or facts, as well as implicit memories, also known as muscle memory. Affected subjects fully believe these new or altered memories to be their own, and behave accordingly.
It's also interesting that it seems like they're trying to, whatever's happening with them, their memories are being altered to remember like this girl, and that this girl was their like friend. Like the idea that they were a child and they were doing something with their best friend at the time, and then they got into an argument, and then they were no longer friends anymore, and then all of a sudden this, you know, girl comes into the picture and they become close friends in this memory, you know? So I don't know. It's strange that like that's the case. Like it's almost trying to, yeah, like rewrite essentially the history of people's memories into thinking that they had this girl was just their childhood best friend. I don't know. Interesting.
In other words, SCP-3002 is basically capable of controlling an individual's mind, but does so through the use of memories.
Memories, yeah.
For example, if you're used to going down one hallway every day, but suddenly your memories change, and now you're used to going down a different hallway, you have no reason not to go down that different hallway.
Right.
If you suddenly remember that you were going to access a secure SCP document, you're probably going to go access that document. Additionally, since it can affect muscle memory, you might suddenly no longer be able to remember how to drive a car while driving down a highway.
Yeah, that would
This
suck.
is an extremely dangerous memetic hazard,
Yeah.
added on to the fact how contagious it seems to be, and it can alter a person's mind to make them willingly spread the hazard. The Foundation originally just thought discussion of that specific childhood memory was what spread 3002.
It's almost like a virus, right? Because like it can spread like wildfire depending on who's spreading it and the means of it. And then it's altering people's behavior and memories to get it to spread more so it can survive, you know? So it's almost acting like a virus. Interesting.
But now they believe that communication of any memory whatsoever from an affected subject can spread 3002. This can be done through text, speech, mathematical formulas, and even thoughts in the case of telepathic entities, although I'm very curious how they learned that.
Yeah, interesting.
Pretty much all affected individuals share memories of a young blonde girl as a childhood friend, named Lily Veselka. They remember her as coming from an Eastern European country, and that she asked them specific questions, such as, "What do you know about me?" and "Has the project finished?"
That's interesting too. Like it's almost like someone created this in order to gather information about something from some people. Interesting. And so like it controls people's muscle memories and affects their overall memories in order to get them to locate the specific information it's looking for, so that, you know, once it's found out that information, it then relays it to whoever or whatever they're, you know, is trying to find out. Yeah. They're viruses, most info hazards and memetics are. Gotcha.
The Foundation suspects that 3002 might be a sapient memetic hazard, as it seems to adapt to prevent its containment, and it also appears to be focusing on targeting individuals that create large amounts of information, or people who do large amounts of research on Slavic or Eastern European history and geography. It's suspected that much of the population of the Midwest USA is currently infected with 3002. 4 months after interviewing Dr. Vanderbilt, the RASA officer, Whitley, lost control of their vehicle while on vacation, suffering severe spinal injuries in the crash. In the aftermath, a fellow RASA officer suspected that Whitley was under the influence of 3002, and so an interview was conducted between Whitley and the leading 3002 researcher, Dr. Lloyd. Lloyd asks Whitley if he remembers something from his childhood involving a girl named Lily Veselka.
Whenever I hear the name Lloyd anymore, I can't help but think of Dumb and Dumber. So all I see right now is Jeff Bridges as Lloyd in Dumb and Dumber and like a lab coat suit giving an interview to this person. That's where my brain goes.
Although he says to think closely, as she doesn't like to be thought about when she doesn't want to be. Whitley cannot recall, and so Lloyd changes subjects, asking him why he decided to go on vacation. Whitley responds by saying that he felt a mild compulsion lately to research a particular topic within Foundation files. When asked if he acted on the urge, Whitley says that he recognized the compulsion as the effects of a memetic hazard and took the proper countermeasures to remove it. He then says that after he had it removed,
Or did he?
He then performed the research of his own volition to satisfy his curiosity.
No.
He goes on to say that he looked into files mentioning an entity similar to 3002, as well as a project known as Lethe. We'll get to Project Lethe in a moment. He finishes by telling Lloyd that he'd rather not say more, as his car crash was no accident. He claims that he was pressured off the road by 3 otherwise unrelated vehicles working in tandem.
Interesting.
Lloyd tells him that he's contaminated with 3002 and withholding information, but Whitley says that he can't trust Lloyd, ending the interview. Shortly afterwards, Whitley was terminated due to being infected with 3002.
Yikes.
Sometime afterwards, the Foundation gleaned some information from an unknown source about a research facility in a national park in Ukraine. Agents dispatched to the location found an underground facility in ruins, seemed to have been abandoned for a few years. Markings and documents indicate that it was an SCP Foundation facility, although no records exist of it. The agents did, however, find some evidence of recent activity within the facility, including a large number of burnt documents and missing hard drives from computers.
So it's almost like this, memetic hazard or whatever, broke containment, got loose, took over these people, and has somehow been able to cover up the fact that there was an SCP site at this place in Ukraine and has burned and or removed any kind of knowledge of what it is or how it was created, if it was created, etc. Interesting. But it also seems like it's trying. Maybe that's what is going on with the hazard, with it being spread, and why it's asking these questions of, do you know me, etc. It's trying to discover if anyone knows about it and its identity, and if anyone does, they get killed, which is why that one guy, Whitley, I guess, may have been killed. Even though I think they said that he'd been clean from it, I don't know. Interesting.
One of the facility's furnaces was activated shortly before the agents arrived, and contained traces of human DNA matching a redacted SCP. They did, however, manage to find one document that turned out to be readable. Due to its importance in relation to SCP-3002, I'll read it in its entirety. Velis. I do not believe continuing active work on Project Lethe is a productive use of our resources. While Lethe has been an invaluable tool for averting broken masquerade-type scenarios, having the project rely on a single anomaly has been causing undue stress in the subject.
Yeah, I don't know what broken masquerade is yet. I'm assuming that's bad. Probably some kind of world or reality altering situation. But it sounds like they were using an SCP anomaly to counteract something, and I guess maybe they overused it and it went bad.
She has been displaying decreasingly less motor and cognitive function, which may be a consequence of the invasive equipment being used for the procedure.
That might be why she's trying to remove all information about her, so she can just go about living in peace without being found by the SCP Foundation and forced to do whatever she was doing again.
As an example of her cognitive deterioration, she does not respond or register her previous name or designation. In addition to that, she has been becoming increasingly less willing to work with the technicians, to the point of resorting to self-harm in attempts to avoid the procedures. At the current moment, she is under constant observation due to the fact that she attempted suicide several days ago. We're not entirely sure how, but it is currently believed she hit a dining utensil during a meal and sharpened it over the next few weeks. We have previously attempted to avoid this type of emotional distress by letting her participate in the various hobbies or activities she enjoyed prior to containment, such as photography and reading. With all that said, I do believe a controllable mass amnestic or memory-altering anomaly is practical in the event of a broken masquerade scenario, so continuing research and development in this field would be wise. As we know for a fact that the memetic trigger used in Lethe is present in all but a negligible amount of the population, perhaps we could alter it to give us further control over their memories, instead of acting as an anchoring point for our subject.
Interesting.
Since we've included the trigger with the neural archetype scans from Yellowstone, a procedure that is not reliant on a human subject would allow for continued use past the lifespan of our current subject.
I want to listen to that again, because this is another reference to SCP-3000 with Yellowstone, I believe.
As an anchoring point for our subject. Since we've included the trigger with the neural archetype scans from Yellowstone, a procedure that
Neural archetype scans from Yellowstone. So, hang on.
instead of acting as an anchoring point for our subject. Since we've included the trigger with the neural archetype scans from Yellowstone.
Excuse me. Can't stop yawning. So, it's not he said they included a trigger included in the neural archetype scans from Yellowstone. So I assume that this person is a clone from SCP-3000, and they maybe are experimenting on creating some kind of anomaly specifically creating an anomaly. And they've added something into this person when they created him at Yellowstone, maybe? Or that they just happen to have gotten the brain scan, from Yellowstone and have done some other experiments and altered this person's physiology while adding a trigger to it or something. So, interesting.
A procedure that is not reliant on a human subject would allow for continued use past the lifespan of our current subject. The agents also discovered a surgical theater fitted with equipment for invasive neurosurgery, apparently frequently used. Medical documents and restraints indicate the procedures were done on a conscious subject or subjects. Before we get to the final iteration then, I'll summarize the story of SCP-3002. As you might have figured, SCP-3002 is, or once was, Lily Veselka,
right,
although that's not her birth name. The author suggests that she took on that name after forgetting her original name. There's an implication that Lily was originally SCP-105, Iris, a blonde female of European descent. But I'll leave that up to you. Lily was taken into the Ukrainian facility for experimentation as part of Project Lethe. Lethe is a classical Greek word meaning oblivion, or forgetfulness, and is connected in Greek mythology to forgetfulness. Project Lethe was basically an attempt to create a global amnestic that didn't rely on chemicals and could be controlled by the Foundation. Secrecy is paramount to the Foundation, and the risk of a broken masquerade scenario, in which the world learns of anomalies, is a constant one. Being able to quickly reverse such a situation at a moment's notice was apparently worth doing continual brain surgery on a young girl.
Yikes.
This invasive surgery continued to degrade her mental well-being, causing her to eventually become suicidal. The reason why Project Lethe was viable was because of a mimetic trigger that was apparently present in almost every human on Earth. This trigger was included with the neural archetype scans from Yellowstone, according to the document, which, in other words, is where SCP-3000 is located. SCP-3000 is the facility designed to recreate the population of the Earth in case of disaster. The Foundation have now included a mimetic trigger with people recreated from SCP-2000, which is practically everyone currently alive.
Which also, I wonder if that also indicates this has already happened, because they're saying that they discovered a mimetic trigger pretty much in the majority of the population of the planet. So again, indicating that perhaps this is something that has already happened in a past cycle, you know, etc., etc.
Except for, presumably, 051 and 052, who seem to oversee Project Lethe. Ultimately, the project was shut down. Lily was burned in a furnace, and most of the Foundation was none the wiser.
Interesting.
According to the author, however, one of the D-Class that Project Lethe used for testing was eventually released back into the prison population and sent to South Rock Penitentiary in Indiana. This prisoner was effectively patient zero for the 3002 infection, as Lily still existed in his mind as a thought. This thought was spread to other prisoners through a memory, and so on. The reason why the prisoners began forgetting the memory when the Foundation arrived was because Lily didn't want to be caught. And so she hid inside their minds.
Yeah.
She was able to spread into the Foundation, however, and began accessing secure documents to try and hunt down those responsible for Project Lethe. She's continually grown more aware of her own capabilities as she spreads across the population, being able to access practically anyone with the mimetic trigger. Moving on to the final iteration then. The containment procedures are simple. Anyone contaminated by SCP-3002 is to be destroyed, including former staff, family, and acquaintances. Staff must be vetted by 051 or 052 before gaining access to this document or any remaining staff, suggesting that there aren't many left not infected. SCP-3002 is now classified as a sapient mimetic entity capable of, and currently attempting to, completely erase human consciousness. It resides in any information or memory to which it has access, and while within a human mind, it is capable of mimicking, altering, or removing memories with no known limits.
Essentially controlling people.
This allows 3002 to completely control an individual.
And it seems like they might, she might be able to control multiple people at once doing that. With the idea that, the scientist was attacked by multiple vehicles when he was just driving down the road, you know what I mean? So she potentially could control the entire population, I guess, maybe of the planet if she were to spread, like that. That's interesting.
Generally for the purpose of spreading 3002. It is currently believed that 78% of the human population is infected, and that 84% of new information created since 2014 is infected with 3002. Several key personnel with the Foundation were infected since discovery, allowing 3002 to avoid being properly detected or analyzed.
So, I mean, like, what are you supposed to do about that then, right? Because, like, even if you wipe people's memories, she's still, you know, attached to the majority of information out there, especially with the internet and, like, phone texting and TV and whatnot. Like, you would literally have to almost shut down all of that. Like, you would have to, like, shut down the electronic, like, global infrastructure, basically, like, wipe her out. Or, like, have some kind of, you know, EMP effect or whatever that would, you know, affect the planet on a global scale. Like, wipe out that kind of information. Interesting. Interesting.
The Foundation admits that containment is impossible, and begins accepting termination proposals from the remaining personnel. One proposal is to reach out to other groups of interest for help. Most of the groups don't respond, but the FBI's UIU division did send a response, although it was infected with 3002. The Chaos Insurgency sent an unintelligible voice recording. Marshall, Carter, and Dark also sent a response infected with 3002. Are We Cool Yet sent a bunch of plans for anomalous art pieces.
Are We Cool Yet?
The Serpent's Hand sent a message saying that they fear that she is among them. And Nobody sent a message reading, "You should have expected this." A Dr. Connor Teach...
Yeah, I mean... the ends don't always justify the means situation, you know? Like, sometimes the SCP Foundation is its own worst enemy. I get the idea of them trying to, obviously, in a situation where the world knows, you know, it gets found out unequivocally that there are, you know, anomalous things going on the planet, and they want to have some kind of global way of, like, a switch, basically, of just like, nope, you guys don't remember now. But yeah, experimenting on people, you know, like that, like, you gotta know there's a breaking point, man. And obviously they went past it. I don't know. Again, ends don't always justify the means.
Suggested using SCP-3000 to repopulate the Earth, but the proposal was declined.
I mean, and who's to say she wouldn't be, like, that's technologically based. Who's to say she couldn't infect that? And then, you know, not to mention, the trigger that she can gain access to is already, like, implanted there, it seems, right? So, yeah, well, it seems like that would not be the way to go. Like I said, it almost seems like you really have to, like, EMP technology, wipe out the global infrastructure for technology, start over. And then before you even do that, though, then you'd have to, like, wipe people's memories. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Another doctor suggested creating an anti-meme to destroy 3002, which was attempted but failed. Dr. Teach again suggested SCP-3000, but was declined. Dr. Teach then suggested looking further into Project Lethe to find a way to destroy 3002, but the proposal was also declined, and Teach was terminated due to suspicion he was infected.
Yikes.
Throughout the course of these proposals, the number of O5 votes for each one has steadily declined, from 13 votes to 10 to 9 to 8
so
to 4.
They're being infected over time.
Finally, the last proposal reads simply restart, with 1 vote for yes and 1 vote for no. This is a rather ambiguous ending, as it seems that over time, more and more of the population became infected with 3002.
Basically everyone
including
did.
the O5 Council of the Foundation.
Just O5.
In the end,
the two of
only
them.
2 remained.
Yeah, the 2 that originally had oversight are probably the only ones left because they were immune to its effects. And so it came down to them on whether or not they're restarting. One voted yes, one voted no.
Them unable to agree on the restart proposal.
Yeah.
And us left with no info on what that might entail. Do they manage to save the planet once again against all odds? Or does the world come to its final end? Some might be against an SCP that stretches reality to an actual conclusion of the human race. But either way, the writing here is certainly creative. The Foundation set out with good intentions, as far as they believe.
Road to hell is
but
paved
they
them.
ended up being punished by the severity of the consequences.
Yeah.
Like I said, there are plenty of SCPs that deal with memories, thoughts, and sapience. But SCP-3002 pushes the concept to perhaps its most frightening.
We got a quote. Not sure if this means she's back or if these are just jumbles of her memories. Thoughts? Is there a possibility Project Lethe had additional side effects we didn't account for? Want to make sure this won't come back to us. Come back to hurt us. Keep an eye on this. A. Velez, O5 Command. Interesting. I would assume that, like, any kind of restart project that they were talking about would probably mean the wiping out of the human population and all technology, whatever, and then using SCP-2000 to restart humanity. I mean, that seems to be the absolute fail-safe in any situation like that. Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where they just took things too far. You know, the ends don't always justify the means, and you gotta think that, like, of course, they want to prevent. I mean, the whole purpose of the SCP Foundation is securing, containing, you know, protecting humanity from anomalies, right? So obviously, if they can, you know, have some kind of way of, like, okay, it's out, everyone knows about, you know, SCPs and anomalies, etc., etc. If there's a way that they can revert it without, like, killing people, obviously that would be something they would want to do. But you gotta think that they would understand that at some point in time there comes a point where there just isn't anything you can do. The cat's out of the bag, you know, kind of a situation. But I mean, I don't know. It always also kind of comes back to SCP-2000, because I mean, if they really wanted to, again, they could just hit the reset button, destroy the planet. Well, not the planet, but destroy humanity, wipe out all, you know, technology, and let SCP-2000, you know, restart humanity again, restart the simulation, whatever. So, I don't know. Interesting. But yeah, it seems like almost kind of like a Ghost in the Shell kind of situation, where, like, her consciousness almost got, like, put into technology, and she was able to then, you know, travel through the various things, spread, take over people, control them by altering their memories and thoughts, and not just one person at a time, multiple people at a time. And eventually it seems like maybe she just gained control of the entire populace, other than two members of the O5 Council, you know? And so what can you really do at that point? But interesting story. Interesting story. And yeah, like I said, there are definitely times where the SCP Foundation is its own worst enemy. So but yeah, that was SCP-3002 by the Exploring series. The Exploring series. Links down below to the original video without my commentary and reaction, and the Exploring series channel. Do me a favor, if you like this video of his, go over there and give it a like. If you enjoy the man's content, go over there and give him a sub. Definitely deserves it. He makes a lot of great content for the SCP universe as well as others. We're doing this reaction live from our YouTube members. If you would like to come join us and give your 2 cents as we do these you know, reactions live, Give us your speculations, thoughts, ideas, and just join in the conversation. We'd love to have you guys come in here. There is a join button down below the video, as well as a link in the description to the YouTube membership benefit tiers that I offer. See if any of those have any interest for you. If you decide you want to take your support from me to the next level and help me out monetarily, you know, the more people that do, the more I'm able to focus on getting more of this content out for you guys on a regular basis. Regardless, I just appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy day, hang out and watch the video. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider leaving a like and a sub, as it helps me and it helps the channel grow. And yeah, thanks. Hope you're all having yourselves a wonderful day. See you on the next one.